And the idea that was really compelling to me is when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm seeing all these people, everyday people, and this is like 2015. So the word influencer wasn't really a big thing. Creator definitely wasn't a thing. And I'm like, this person's a regular person just like me, but they're a bartender. But they have 100,000 followers. It's like a girl
Yep.
bartender, 100,000
Yep.
followers. I think that even 1% of her fans would pay her $5 a month for exclusive content. Or this fitness trainer who has 200,000 followers, and back then nobody link in bio wasn't a thing. Nobody's promoting. Is all for likes, all for likes, all for
Right.
fun. And I'm like, this fitness person could sell training videos for $2, $3, $5, $10. So what do I need to do? I need to build Instagram, but with a paywall. Like you got to pay to see this content. And I just knew this was going to be a thing. I was like, just 100%. I was like, this is going to be a thing.
So let me ask you guys this. So we talked about post grad life and some of the things that took place after that. At some point, something changed. So both of you guys can chime in. One of you, it's is really so something changed, and you said to yourselves, "I don't want to be a part of the machine in the way that we are in it right now. Let's create our own mechanism." At what point did that change happen for you guys?
I'll go first, real quick. The machine, it's an interesting machine. So, me, I jumped. So, after that first job, I went and I moved to New York City. Um, with no like promise of anything. I just was like, I visited New York City. I always loved it. So it was like a personal thing. And I was like, I wanted to live there. I was like 22. And I'm like, I want to live there, even if it's for a year or two. I didn't really have a good plan. But, uh, so I left that job in Long Beach and I did the same thing. I went on Craigslist and I blasted all these, anything with programming in it. And then I got a recruiter hit me back and he's like, I have a job that I think that would fit for you. Um, it would change your life, blah blah blah. And I'm like 22 years old. He's like, it's for a huge company, blah blah blah. And I'm like, that sounds cool. What's a company? He's like, Sony Music. I'm like, that sounds amazing. Sony Music, record label, that's New York City. Like, at the same time, you know, I I think I had like $2,000 in my pocket. I got a ticket. I had a good friend who's living in New York at the time, and so I just lived with him for a couple weeks. And I interviewed, and I landed that job at Sony. And so that was kind of like a kind of good transition into New York. But as we'll kind of get into probably more, or maybe if I could answer quickly how it clicked. I went from Sony for 5 years. I left Sony. I went to Viacom. I was there for a year and a half, and then I jumped around. Went to ESPN, the NFL. Just again, all IT, like enterprise IT, which is just basically building internal systems that they need to do their business. A lot of times,
Yeah.
antiquated, kind of, in all honesty, BS systems that you should have just paid a third party to do for you, so you don't do it because they always do it badly. And yeah, and then I finally and then this I got, this is like over a period of like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then I got to Johnson and Johnson, and these are all great companies, great institutions. You could absolutely have a great life. You could, buy a house, you could have some savings, you can go on vacation, you have health insurance. It's I'm not complaining. But again, there's this entire ecosystem of um, hundreds of like let's put the actual numbers. In 2021 it was 600 billion, and then when you bring in private equity, it's like trillions of dollars each year being infused into companies and new assets to generate more wealth. And what I'm looking at is like, okay, I'm in tech, I know how to program, I've had ideas. I have like 5 friends who would never forget. They're like, "Yo, bro, you predicted Tinder. You told me like you wanted to build Tinder because I did like 5 years before." I was like, "Yeah, man. What if you could just look at your phone and based on your GPS, you could see who you like and like and you can meet them and stuff like that." And this was 5 years ahead.
Wow.
I was always
Wow.
kind of just deep into that world, and I remember telling another friend when Bitcoin was 73 cents. 73 cents. I was like, "Look at this Bitcoin thing. It's pretty cool." And like just talking about it, but never taking the action. That was always the kind
Right.
of problem is that like it's like do the safe thing. Just go to work, do your job, but don't just invest $2,000 in Bitcoin when it's 73 cents. That's silly. Actually, if I would have done that, I would have had like I would have made like $15 million. That's what I should have done. So that's what if there's one thing, and I have that screenshot, I posted it to my Instagram of me emailing my friend, "Hey, this thing is cool. Look at this thing. It's 73 cents. Maybe we should buy some." And I just never did. Um,
Ah, man.
exactly. So when it clicked was now I think I'm 30 whatever 32 or 31. And I'm like, well, I'm gonna just start building some of my own stuff, some of my own ideas. I don't care. I'll work full
Yeah.
time. I'll do it on the side. And the idea that was really compelling to me is when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'm seeing all these people, everyday people, and this is back to like 2015. So the word influencer wasn't really a big thing. Creator definitely wasn't a thing. And I'm like, this person's a regular person just like me, but they're a bartender. But they have 100,000 followers. It's like a girl
Yep.
bartender, 100,000
Yep.
followers. I think that even 1% of her fans would pay her $5 a month for exclusive content. Or this fitness trainer who has 200,000 followers, and back then nobody link in bio wasn't a thing. Nobody's promoting. Is all for likes, all for likes, all for
Right.
fun. And I'm like, this fitness person could sell training videos for $2, $3, $5, $10. So what do I need to do? I need to build Instagram, but with a paywall. Like you got to pay to see this content. And I just knew this was going to be a thing. I was like, just 100%. I was like, this is going to be a thing. And I don't know anything about fundraising. I have no network with startup or eco. I don't know a single VC. I don't know a single scout. I don't know any of these people. I don't know even know other founders because in the
Hmm.
enterprise IT, there's like those are like or just in a company. That's people. If you get in a Johnson and Johnson, like 70% of the people, they're there for life. They want to be there for life, and they hoard it too,
Right.
and they make sure that their family members get in. And this is it.
Hmm.
And it's a great career path. It's awesome, but again, you're not going to go sell your company for 50, 30, 50 million or whatever millions of dollars. And also, you're typically not doing anything that, in terms of tech, you're not doing anything exciting. You're not changing the world. All the innovation is happening in startups. And
Just a
so,
cog in the system.
yeah,
You
and there's
just
nothing wrong with
yeah.
that. Without
Of course. Yeah.
this, that's the way the world works. It's like people like commit to a company and they do the work. Like I'm not talking down on it. What I am saying is, for me personally, I had ideas. I knew that I wanted to pursue, and I felt like they were good ideas. I want to pursue it. So and I had the ability to do it. So that for me, it made sense. I'm not saying that, but at the same time, it's extremely hard, and the likelihood of success is extremely low. Like it's like getting to the league. You are an elite basketball player. You are an
Yep.
elite basketball player, and you know how difficult it is to be part of that 0.0001% that gets into the league. It's not as difficult, and there's a lot of the difference between sports and startups is at least sports you could just show it on the court or the field. With
Right.
startups, it's like, oh, I know this guy knows me, so he's gonna fund me, which is kind of bullshit. And me and Vic are super
Yeah.
passionate about that kind of inequity
Yeah.
as well. That was
Yeah.
a long answer to how it clicked, but that's kind of how it clicked.
Yeah, Vic, at some point in time, it because what we're doing is your stories are going neck and neck right now, right? And now we're gonna hit that intersection where you guys meet, and we're really close to that. So at some point in time, it changed for you. Like you got the ball rolling, you got some momentum in your own personal life. Vic, at what point did you say, I don't want to, I need to do something of my own?
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is aligning kind of with Lionel. But I think I was a few years after him. So because of how long it took me to work my way through
To
the
get started.
corporate
Right.
system, right, and get started.
Right.
So what I recognized was I was doing really well. I was working at FDA. And that's the pinnacle of jobs if you're coming from science. If you're coming from my science background at PhD, you at the FD, you're at the. I mean, that's it, right? Or be at a huge pharma company, one of the two. But FDA was just a great, great look, right? So I'm there and I'm working my way up, and I'm like looking at the pay scale, right? I'm always looking. I'm like, yeah, if I move up to here, I'll be this, and I have this title, and I'll do this, and I'm working hard. Yeah, I'm gonna keep pushing. So I'd say the first like 6 years, I just busted my ass. I worked hard. I did really well. People, of course, people like you. You're building a good name and reputation for yourself. But when I recognized, I got to a point, and I'm like a team lead, I'm a supervisor, I'm supervising a bunch of people, and I'm recognizing, like, at the end of the day, these people are going to never see me as valuable as I see myself. They just see me as Vic, this guy who does this, and he'll probably work as he works hard. He may get to a director, and the FDA is long, bureaucracies are long, it's like 5-10 years. Like, what do you think I'm going to wait for somebody to retire to take a position? They retire they retire in 10 years. Maybe you can get there. We're like, what kind of world are we in, right? I'm good now. I don't want to wait for nobody to retire. You need to hire me. You need to move me up now. I don't care about how you typically do things, because I'm more talented than this person, and it's evident, right?
Yep.
And so what I recognize is I would tell people all the time, what do you want to be? I was like, I'll be FDA commissioner. And you tell people that, and they kind of scoff at you, like, okay. And fair, right? It's a fair point, because being from my position, right, there's nobody that just came from at least no black person that came from the trenches of an organization to make it to commissioner. The commissioners always, they may have been at FDA for a couple of years, but they went and they were board of directors on this thing and this thing. You're just well networked, and then the president comes and plucks you and says you're the FDA commissioner.
Yep.
I thought about it over time, and I'm just like, these people will never see me the way I see myself. These people will never value my talents the way I know they should be valued. And I'll never meet my full life potential being within this org, in this bureaucracy. I was just like, there's no way. I was like, yeah, I could work my way up pretty high there. I know it for a fact. I could be very high at that org, but I don't want to wait 20 years for that to happen, nor, or that to potentially happen, nor do I want to, spend my life, and this may sound bad, but trying to appease white people and make white people feel comfortable about me and my abilities, because that's another part of it that we don't talk about, but you're battling against that all the time, because you're not in their networks, right? You're not in their group, and they don't necessarily see you as that director. You got to really convince them and work hard to convince them that you're qualified for that, even though you're well qualified for it, right? So it's just a tougher push, right? No excuse, but it's a tougher push. And so when I recognized that, I think it collided at the same point when I then recognized and started hearing more about, and I had this kind of chance encounter with a millionaire. I live in the DMV. I live in the DC area, and I had this chance encounter with this black millionaire. He owned some hotels. He had another business, and my wife and I, we had some questions for him. So we sat down and we were talking to him, and he just kind of gave me his background of like where he came from, and like when his come to Jesus moment came, and how he branched out and created his own business. He's a multimillionaire. He's big time. He's well known in the city, and in the community. And after hearing that story, I was like, this is it. This is it. I was like, this is where I need to be going. I was like, I clearly missed the memo before, but I'm here now. I was like, I'm here now, and I don't, and this is no disrespect to anybody, but I don't want any like Rudy Poot little, fried chicken stand in the corner. That's not what I'm building for here, right? I'm building. Scale. I want to build something big that has a chance to be impactful. And at that same juncture was right after my dad had passed away, and he had passed away to cancer. So I had some ideas there, because I'm a scientist, and by training I'm at FDA, and I had these thoughts in my head of how I could help change some narratives there on that front. And I started working on that, and through that work on that, me and Lionel are still meeting. So Lionel and I, we're not, we're close, but this is where Lionel and I really connected, because I tell Lionel this story of this chance encounter with the millionaire, not knowing all the stuff that Lionel had going on in the background with TipSnaps. And so Lionel's
Yeah.
listening to me and he's hearing it. He's like, So Lionel and I start meeting like every Friday for like hours. And and he's listening to me about my startup idea. And so like
Yeah.
for maybe a year, it was over a year, we're meeting like every Friday, literally, and we're talking like for hours. And then throughout the week. And so what happened was, over that time, I'm learning a lot about what's going on. I'm learning a lot about like venture capital and the opportunities. And so what happens is, Lionel comes to me one day. He's just like, listen, man. He's like, you're talented. He's like, they may not see how talented you are, but he's like, you're a communicator. He's like, you communicate well. He's like, people want to listen to you. People want to hear you. That is your God. That's God's gift. Like, that's you. He's like, that is what we're missing at TipSnaps. And if you want to, you could, I want to bring you on as co-founder, and we can work together to kind of build this company. And so I recognized really quick. I was just like, Lionel's never wrong. He was right about TipSnaps. I was like, he's never wrong about technology. He's not wrong about where something's going to be in 5 years. He is never wrong, ever. He's always right. And so I was just like, I can fight this battle that I'm trying to fight and build my own company. And kind of, we're just kind of struggling and Lionel's helping me. Or we can combine our talents. He's further ahead, much further ahead. I can help him take it over the hill, right? And we can just keep climbing. And so that's how Lionel and I came together, and we built, and and that's where we came together, and that's where TipSnaps just collided, and that's how we ended up working together. And since then, it's just been crazy, man. It's just been crazy. We've done a lot. And but I think just kind of our lives kind of colliding at this similar time, because I think 10 years prior, 5 years prior, we would have missed each other
Yeah,
completely.
you might not have been ready for where you're at, like this. You would have
Yeah.
been ready for it, right?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
another point that I want to make, because I think this is really the impetus for why, is when my dad passed of cancer. He passed. He worked. He retired from the federal government. He worked at the VA, Veterans Affairs, in Roanoke,
Okay.
Virginia, for 30 plus years. He retired, lived a good life. He played golf, but he passed away like maybe 6-7 years after retirement, right?
Okay.
And what it told me then, I'm like in my 30s, but it told me then, I was like, life is short. I don't have time. I don't have time to bullshit with these people
Yeah.
for another 10, 15 years of my life. I was like, I don't have that time. If I want to build something, I got to start doing it now, because,
Absolutely.
and it has to be a drastic kind of thing for me to do, because I'm talented enough to do it. I just need to figure out how, when, where, why, and so Lionel and I collided at that same point where I had this grand like vision in my head, like it's like almost like spiritual, like you got to do
Man.
you got to do this now, like you don't have time.
Yeah.
And so it's just kind of a blessing how it all kind of came together. But my dad's passing, and then the recognition of time, that my time is because it was traumatic to me. So it was the recognition of time. Like, you don't have time.
No.
Like, there's no more time. You got to go. And so
The
that's
time is
where
now,
Lionel
essentially.
bang. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's and the reason why, I kind of do the podcast in this way, man, is because, especially for, so this is actually the first time that I've had two people on at one time, so what I wanted to do when I was sculpting the episode is I wanted to draw these parallel universes, right? And at some point you guys intersect, and that's where we are now. So if you could, this has been the build up. Let's talk about TipSnaps. This is why you guys are here. You guys are on the platform to talk about TipSnaps. You guys told me the ethos behind it. But if you could, I mean, Lionel, you the one who kicked it off, and then of course Vic, you came into the fold, and you guys meshed and blended together. But just tell us a little bit about TipSnaps, and why is it important to the content creator ecosystem. Yeah. You're good.
Um, yeah. So again, the way I saw back in 2015, the way I saw it was just like the opportunity for kind of everyday people to start monetizing their fan bases, right? So taking social media from just being fun to like being more kind of business oriented, which a lot of creators are already trying to move in that direction. Um, Fast forward to now, it's not obvious to everybody, but it's definitely very well known that creators, it's a business, right? It's a business model. Like yes, you make content, but it's not just for fun. There are tech companies that are monetizing your content to the tune of nearing $1 trillion. Some of the biggest tech companies on earth, are off the background of creators of social media. So TipSnaps, the value of TipSnaps today is, and my daughter's here, so sorry for any background.
No, it's
But
all good. Yeah. We understand the game.
yeah,
It's good. Yeah, go ahead,
uh,
bro.
but yeah, the value is that we enable creators to monetize their content directly. Meaning, look, you even if you have 500 followers or 50,000 followers, some of them will pay you on a monthly basis to subscribe to exclusive content. There are a lot of platforms that preach that they do this, or some platforms that are really well known for this. But what differentiates us is we're focused on supporting niches of creators of color, right? So, and that doesn't mean we're excluding anybody. All we're saying is if you're a black hair and beauty creator and you have a YouTube channel with 50,000 followers and YouTube sends you like a $3 check at the end of the month, you can convert 1% of them. You can convert 500 people at $20 a month for longer form videos, which 500 people from your 50,000 absolutely would subscribe. And that's incredible kind of money that you just didn't have before, right? Which you deserve, right? Which Alphabet or Google is currently making off of you. So we're trying to help shift the model of like and the understanding. And there are a lot of niches, like the niche that everybody kind of knows, or the platform people typically affiliate this with, is like Patreon or even OnlyFans. But again, there's those kind of, as soon as I say those words, your brain goes a certain direction. Like, okay, I know what OnlyFans is for, but Patreon, like, what is
Yeah.
that like? Maybe podcasters, certain YouTubers, but not all black hair and beauty creators are on there, and not all comedians, not all NCAA athletes who should be monetizing their workout routines. They're when they go
Yeah.
out at night and like kids just want to know what they're how's your the party last. I just want to just a closer relationship with your fans. So that's the first part, and that's so we in terms of is just are you guys just talking or is this real? It's real. We have 500,000 registered users on our platform. And we've done this with no venture
Nice.
capital. Yeah,
Wow.
typically to get to any type of those type of metrics, 500,000 people using the platform, you've raised like 10, 15, $20 million, and we've raised none, right? We just built it ourselves and we got it out there ourselves via social media, et cetera. And of course it's a network effect where one user joins, one fitness trainer joins. Well, their fitness trainer friends watching, they're like, "What is that?" It's like, "Oh, I didn't know you could do that." All right, so the first part of TipSnaps, we've paid out almost $3 million to creators, so creators are making money. Um, and the
Okay.
second piece, which we're really excited about, and we think super innovative, we don't see anybody else doing it, is what we call TipPools. And TipPools, fan initiated crowdfunding for social media content. So you can think of it like GoFundMe, but for content, except the fans dictate and decide what they want to see. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so one good one. Vic came up with this last week. The Shade Room posted this kind of meme about Maxwell and Genuine. They were like, now they're getting older and they're
Having a
like
dance off.
you saw it. You saw it. So yeah, they're getting older. They're starting to dance at their concerts, and people are kind of laughing at them. So it's like the Shade Room's like they should have a dance off, and so we're like, that's a tip pool. How many fans would fund that to see that happen?
Oh yeah.
Sorry, yeah, Vic, maybe you want to keep riffing off that.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, it's TipPools is really a unicorn in and of itself because it's taking the energy of social media, taking the energy of culture, and like throwing it and but putting an action behind it. So you're not just we're just not talking about what if, or
Yeah.
man, these guys are dope rappers. Love to see them, do a song together, or I'd love to hear, Will Smith and and Chris Rock, sit down at a table and talk. Like we'd
Yeah.
love to hear that discussion. Well, TipPools allows you to activate that. You can set up a TipPool, you can create it. Anybody can create it. Anybody can start it, and just let the virality of the internet take a hold and say, hey guys, if we want to see this, chip in $5, chip in whatever, and if it reaches this goal, people get to see it. And the beauty is, fans aren't charged until the creator accepts the challenge and does it. And then, only the people who, put money into the challenge, or the dare gets to see it. So, so they
Wow,
get to see
man,
that content.
that's nice, man.
So yeah, it's like the ultimate pay-per-view, but it's not these people up here telling you what you want to see on pay-per-view. We want to see this fight, or we want to see this. No, it's the fans saying, nah, we don't want to see that. We've
Straight
been
from the
wanting to see
people.
Tyson versus this guy. We've been wanting to see Floyd versus this guy. We don't want to see what you guys are saying. We want to see this, and we're putting money behind it. That's the power of TipPools. It's the community. It's the fans driving what they want to see and dictating the terms of it. And the fun part about it is it goes. It doesn't have to be mega celebrities, right? We're seeing TipPool gain traction of a kind of a micro level TikToker who's a BMX biker, and people want to see him do a tutorial of his tricks, right?
Yeah.
How applicable is this to all TikTokers, right? Or to all people on social media? So we really see the value, in particularly with Gen Z, just using it as a tool on social media to one, the creator has a tool now. Now you have a separate revenue stream, right? Like you say,
Yeah.
man, I want my rent paid this week. It's been a tough month, 2,000. I need 2,000 to pay this rent. All right, let me see let me curate. Let me look through my fans' messages under my post and see if they're asking me for anything. Let me create a tip pool for myself, or let me think about what my fans may want to see and create it, and let me promote the tip pool. So it works both ways. The fans can dictate it, or the creator can curate it themselves based on input that they've gotten from their fans. And so we don't see this in the same way in market. Like we're like first to market with this concept, and we're definitely going to do it better than anybody else because no one else is really thinking about the streets of it, like the culture, Black culture, and how much it's already curated on Shade Room and all these blog
Yeah.
sites. Like people, you know what the culture wants to see. Like you can think of
Yeah.
10 things like right now. You mean for how long did people like yell and scream? I would love to see Jordan versus LeBron. Like if there was
Right.
$5 million in the pot that could maybe say go to charity, right? Maybe go to charity, and then LeBron and them like, well, it's a charity opportunity. Maybe we'll give them this, 10-minute little quick between me and Mike.
Yeah.
Like so,
I
it's just so
think
many
the only way we're
applications
gonna
of it.
get I think the only way we're gonna get those two kind of go head to head is on the poker table. Play blackjack or
Hey,
something.
hey, even then, right? Like
That
we
would
want
be
to see
pretty
that.
cool though. A one on
Yeah,
one conversation with Jordan and LeBron while they playing poker. Like
that would
that
be
would be
good.
crazy.
Right. And see the thing about it is what the value that we see in this is Jordan and LeBron could do this conversation, but it would be some huge company that's
Yeah.
organizing it, and they're this media company, and the media company is going to make the most money from it. What if
Yeah.
Jordan and LeBron say we don't want to give it to the media company, we want all the money, we want to keep it, and we're going to do this on TipPools ourselves, and we're going to keep 90% of it because our payout, everybody keeps 90% on our platform for the most part. So
Okay. Yeah.
so they keep 90%. So you're just alleviating the middleman.
Man.
So yeah, so let's just you could think about how just think if Floyd Mayweather had all of his fights on TipPools. And you know what people are paying because people prepay for it. So you're not waiting for how much after to see how many people tuned in for pay-per-view.
You
You
already
already
know.
know going in, these people have already paid for it. Oh, and there'll probably be other people who didn't pay for it at first, but now they know this tip pool is there, so they're going to come back in and pay on it after it's done, right?
Absolutely.
You keep all the money. You take the middleman. You take the media middleman out of it. It's
Man.
it's just so unique in that fashion. So we really see this is the unicorn. This is the next direction that social media content creation is going to go. This is
So I got
revolutionary.
so I got I got this information from you guys before. I mean, we've had a couple meetings, and every time I hear it, man, it's just it it makes so much sense. And you're putting the content in the people's hands, like you said. You're putting it in the people's hands, and you're allowing the people to say, "Listen, this is what we want, and we'll pay for it right now." And then they calling their friends, yo, "Hey, you remember when we talked about this and this? Yo, we have an opportunity to make this thing happen. Let's go over to TipPools and get it done." Next thing you know, you approach these people, their reps, and you say, "Listen, we got a bag over here for you. what y'all trying to do?"
There it is.
Like,
Right, right.
yeah,
That bag
yeah,
waiting for some. I mean, all creators are. Some folks are mega celebs. They don't need that bag. But there's a lot of people who have a million followers on TikTok across all their social media, or 2 million, that aren't that. They need a 50,
yeah,
25, 50K bag.
because they're
They'd
not really
love to have that.
monetizing it, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So not everybody. I think we have this kind of sometimes this idea that all social media influencers, they get to a level, they're making all this money. It's really not that way. It's a few that are making a lot of money. The rest are kind of doing decently, doing well, but because for the most part, not many are directly monetized, right?
yeah,
Not many, mainstream content creators are directly monetized. Once
yeah,
that gets to full saturation, TipSnaps is going to continue to grow, and TipPools is just so revolutionary that's just going to take off on its own,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, the concept, man, and again, man, like every time I hear it, it's just like, man, these guys, they got something going, man. But so guys, I don't want to keep you guys all day. So we're approaching the end of the interview, and I have a couple more questions for you guys in regards to tip snaps. Like, and I want to ask you guys this. So, not to play the race card per se, but is it hard for you guys to not even feel comfortable, but do you feel like it's hard for you guys to really be respected in this industry because you're completely black owned, and there's a strong black influence in the DNA of the company? Do you feel like it's difficult for you guys to really like get your respect in this kind of new industry you're in? I mean, I know you guys have gotten some blood, sweat, and tears in it, but you're relatively new. Do you feel like it's difficult to get that respect that you guys deserve in the industry?
Yeah, I'll go first real quick, and then Vic could go. But yeah, man, it's what I would compare it to is like Negro Leagues, except
Ah, gotcha.
worse, because you know, like somebody could just kind of watch Jackie Robinson play, like almost anybody could just kind of watch him play and be like, that guy's really good, right? And when you remove the
Yeah,
racism, then it's like, well, this guy's really good. With business and with tech startups, it's just not as obvious, right? It's like there's no way to display it unless you're kind of in that world to the general public, right? So like
yeah,
when we tell our users that we're competing with Patreon, who's raised $475 million, who have 500 employees in offices around the globe, and when you use Patreon and you use TipSnaps, and they're comparable, it doesn't always connect to be like, whoa, how did you guys build something that supports the exact same service that another company needed $500 million to do? How did you guys do that?
yeah,
That's not a question that everybody thinks. They're just like, oh, cool, you're competing with Patreon. It's like, no, 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 no. Well, listen. 400, almost $500 million went into this company. And so when you look at the tech ecosystem, when you look at all the unicorns, and the unicorn is defined as any company that has a valuation over $1 billion, there's probably
okay,
like three or four that are black owned, and there's like thousands of companies. I don't even know if it's three or four. There's a few, and there's some ones of note like Calendly. Uh, it's an amazing story,
yeah,
amazing company, but there's not many, and typically and so when people like, how does it get to $1 billion valuation? What does that even mean? Well, all it is there's a lot of institutional. investor types, but the ones that typically invest in startups are venture capitalists. Venture capital, for, like, there's a lot of people who will say they're venture capitalists, but like the
Right.
actual like $600 billion that was invested in 2021, half of it came from like 15 company or 15 firms. There's like the top 15. There's Andreessen Horowitz, there's Sequoia, there's Tiger Global, there's SoftBank. So like these institutional funders who are looking to deploy, they say this is how they say it: deploy capital. Like just you're deploying capital. You want to get it out. You have to
Yeah.
spend you have to spend this year. They have to spend $100 billion. They have to invest that much. One, like, okay, not 100 billion, but Andreessen, for example, has like a 50 to 60 billion dollar fund. They raise a fund every year from people they call LPs or GPs, limited partners or general partners. These people are just old money. All the money that's always existed since slavery, since forever, a lot of that money just gets cycled through families. And the way they kind of stay rich, because they are not the ones innovating anymore. They're not the Bill Gates or the Steve Jobs, right? They're not the Jeff Bezos, but they're like, I want a piece of that. Help me stay. Let me stay in with you. So I'm going to invest through venture capitalists, and then venture capitalists, or these funds, what they do is say, well, how do we stay on top? Well, we think we're just going to hire the smartest people to dictate what to invest in. And the way they see that is like, well, let's just get Ivy League people. So like 80% or 90% of venture capitalists, they all went to Ivy League schools, and it typically is Stanford, Harvard. And typically it's not, and it's not black kids either, right? Like
Okay.
there's a few of us that kind of get through that. So my point is it's kind of this vicious system of billions of dollars that get to dictate what the new huge companies are going to be. It's not by accident. I love to say this to people, every single app on your phone has millions, if not billions of dollars put behind it. It's not there by accident. It's not just by chance a couple of smart kids built the best app. Even when you see it like Snapchat early on, you're like, oh yeah, some smart kids from whatever, UC Santa Barbara or whatever they're from. It's like, no, dude, they got $100 million like within their first 18 months of existence. So the scale of it,
Okay.
yeah, the first, and so what's frustrating, so to bring it back to us, back in 2018, when I bootstrapped by myself, like literally in this room, I went to a couple
Mhm.
VCs because they wanted to hear my story because I told them I had 100,000 registered users. That's not normal. They're like, okay, tell us this story. And I'm telling them the story, and they're like, and so what happens, it's almost like they saw a white running back or they saw a black golf player. They just
Oh,
couldn't
okay.
listen to me. They couldn't listen to me. They're like, what do you mean? Like, they're like, this sounds like influencer marketing. It's like, nah, man, this isn't influencer marketing. This is influencers charging their fans for content. So back in
Yeah.
2018, if we would have got funded equitably, by equitably at a seed round, it's like $2 to $5 million. Like you should have got that. We absolutely should have got that. If we would have got
Yeah.
that, we definitely would have been. We probably would have been valued at like 300 million to like even a billion. Probably would have been a unicorn. So what's
Yeah.
happening now again is TipPools. You immediately are like, whoa! Every single
Right.
person we tell, it's not the idea is awesome, right? It's not about just the idea. It's about the execution. That's a difference. Like there's a lot of people who have a lot to say and a lot of ideas, but we've built it and we have users. So now we need funds to scale it, to get it out to the masses. And a lot of that is a lot of that's just money, to paid ads,
Yeah.
hiring influencers to help us get it going. And nobody's doing this. We're first to market. And every user we talk to, every person who uses social media, like, holy shit. And a lot of the VCs are like, whoa, that's a cool idea. But they don't trust us as founders to be the executors. They'd rather invest. Sometimes they'll take your pitch deck, and they'll give it to somebody they know to go build it, which we always have to
Yeah.
be concerned about. But other times they'll just be like, huh, we'll just wait and see. And they'd rather almost like invest in somebody 3 years later because they kind of trust them because they're more of a traditional founder. And by traditional founder, there's ageism, there's definitely racism, and there's networkism, meaning like you're Ivy League, you're part of these kind of circles in Silicon Valley, New York City, but if you're not in those circles, it's harder. It's not impossible, it's just harder. At the same time, what gives us the kind of strength and kind of the the energy to keep going is number one, we want to prove them all wrong. Not just for them, but for us, because we know that the same way we like us as a people, we change music, we change sports, we change fashion, we change food, anything you put in front of us,
Everything.
we change. We are going to change tech. We just need to be the ones who dictate what the tech does. And our tech's going to be cool as shit. So that's what gives us the strength and the power and the energy. And the community's coming back, right? The users come. That like it's that's why we have 500,000 registered users. So, it would have been a lot easier if they would have just because they fund people at it's crazy. It's crazy. And typically you don't. Here's the other thing: they don't build anything. They don't have any users. They just have a pitch deck with like the idea. That's typically when they
Right.
get 2 to 5 million. We have users, a full product, a ton of data that kind of shows this is working, the flywheel's working, and they're still skeptical, kind of like, hmm. Meanwhile, let me go fund this
Like
guy who
what
has a
else
blog.
do yeah,
So
like
we're
what
living in the
else do you
twilight
need
zone.
from us, man?
We're living
Like
in the
what?
twilight
Like
zone as Black founders, and many of us are. It's not just me and Vic. It's thousands of us. So there's a lot of good people fighting though to try and shift. It's not like this is news. Like there's hundreds of people fighting. There's some really good people on Twitter just fighting. There's funds that are fighting, but the funds are like this fund, like the Black funds are like 20 million for the year versus 20 billion, right? So it's kind of like they can only put their 20 million so far. So I
right.
digress. I know I said a lot. I know you want to wrap it up, but yeah, we're
No.
pretty.
But I mean, but the thing is, man, the reason why I have this platform is not only to hear stories and have people tell their stories, but to also get the real out there, man. Like this is a reality for you guys, so that's why I'm giving you the air. You guys can just lay it out because this is a real thing, and that's why I asked that question because I mean, let's be real. It's a bunch of isms out here, and when you're getting into the space that you're getting into, the isms play a big role in execution because at the end of the day it's execution. This is what you guys keep talking about, right? It's one thing to have an idea, but you have to execute, and it's hard to execute when the isms are coming and blocking all your shots, man. Like, I'm shooting it from half court like Steph Curry, baby. It's going in. Stop blocking me, baby. Stop blocking me. So you know, th- and this is where we're going now. On my show, I like to not only hear stories, but I like to also manifest these beautiful things in our lives. And I'm a true believer in manifestation. So you get this idea, you have goals and you have these desires. I feel like it's important to put it out there so you can always make reference when you actually accomplish what you set out to accomplish. So we're going to move into the manifestation part of the episode, which is, towards the end. And I want to ask you guys individually, and then of course you can come together. But what is the perfect scenario for you guys, personally, professionally, or both, if you want? All right. So, Vic, you can kick us off.
I'll just start. I'll start by saying what is what we would want for TipSnaps because I think that's really the most important thing.
Hmm.
Um, I think for us, we just want to be able to compete, right? We just want to be able to be considered with our peers in the space, in consumer tech space, in the tech space in general, to be considered with our peers, to be given equitable funding that our counterparts with less are given, to kind of compete. We're not asking for anything. We just want to be able to compete. And if we're given the opportunity truly, and by given the opportunity, if we're giving investment dollars, some substantial investment dollars comparable to our peers, I see us growing exponentially because we'll be able to have conversations that we currently can't have, be able to get in some rooms that we typically can't get into, and we'll be able to continue to build our product to support the community in a way that our community can continue to enjoy using TipSnaps. There's a lot of kind of things there. It's a lot at play, and especially operating like a business like this, there's a lot of things that you need to do and need to do very well. And we're confident that we can do it. It's because we've done it. But to drive it home, we're just, like you said, manifesting. We're manifesting that this is going to happen, and making the point that, for me personally, I think one of the reason why I'm so successful and I've been successful in life isn't because, again, that I'm smarter or more talented than most people. Excuse me. It's because I persevere. It's purely because I don't quit. I just keep going. You can hit me with a stick, you can hit me with a bat, you can knock me down. However that looks, I'm gonna get right back up. I'm gonna keep jogging. I'm gonna keep running. I'm gonna keep pushing. That's been my story. That's been Lionel's story. We don't stop. So, knowing my background, knowing my track record of what happens when you just kind of keep going and pushing through adversity, I know where we're going to end up. I know where we're going to be ultimately. We're going to be very successful, and we are very successful. But successful meaning we're able to have a platform that's moving, that people are using, that people are excited about, and that we're building something that our community and globally that everyone feels good about. Like, this is a place I want to be. This is where I want to spend my time today. This is where I want to spend my social media time today. I want to be on this platform because they've built on this platform a community of diverse creatives that are sharing, and they're sharing their creativity, and that's where I want to be today. And so we know that if we keep persevering and we keep pushing, that's going to happen. No doubt about it. And one way or the other. And I don't know how it's going to work. It could be a lot of different ways that happens, but I know it's going to happen. I'm confident about
it. Yes, sir. All right, it's on you, Lionel. Like, what's the perfect scenario?
Yeah, I think Vic has echoed a lot of how I mean, everything I'd co-sign on for sure. But I think what I'd add is, you know, I think the ecosystem that we're all kind of living in terms of like business, uh, private equity, venture capital, investment kind of channels that are happening around the globe that typically, black and brown people just aren't taking part of. It's not it's not a lack of intelligence, it's a lack of access and a lack of just access, understanding that this is happening. So I think for me, in terms of manifestation, I want TipSnaps to be just one contributor to a broader vision, that because economics it's like it's at the baseline of before it's below, like in terms of equity, economics is kind of props that up.
Yep.
Right? Like,
right.
We could always say we want equity, and that it's not just for black people, it's for any person could ask for equity, but if the economics don't align, then you truly don't have it, right? And I'm not just saying money, I'm talking about just resources and
Resources are
even
big.
like exactly. So and we have it internally, and we have the capacity to kind of take it back, because a lot of it's just taken from us kind of beneath our noses. And so with TipSnaps, with tech, for example, there's an awesome company called Scoop that was founded like a year or two after Uber, right? And it's a black owned company. And you just think about how many black and brown people in Brooklyn, in the Bronx, in Manhattan, and anywhere would be a Scoop driver, right? And let those fees, by the way, which are better, they have a better rate on Scoop, but the fees go back into a black tech company who would in turn hire more black tech workers, it all trickles down, right? So like the kind of vision of a lot of people, in terms of supporting black businesses, buying black. But it's not just black, it's brown too, right? Like why is every single landscaper a Mexican person or a Spanish person? Like it's going to change over time, right? It's just this is what they feel like they can only do right now. but their kids don't have to do that. And again,
Exactly.
it's not that it's not on just race in this. It's truly about equity. And so we just feel like if TipSnaps could kind of help um, as one company, number one, help creators, right? Because that's to us is a no brainer. Like creators, take your power back. YouTube just did like like $70 billion in revenue this year, or they're gonna do that this year. They're
Right.
selling ads on top of your content. That's great. That's where everybody is right now. They're on YouTube, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok, but you're not getting paid. So drive your fans behind your paywall. Keep your fans there. Keep uploading content there to keep them engaged. Keep commenting, having chats with them. Do your thing on those platforms, but make sure you're trying to drive them behind your paywall because there's a reason why these companies exist, and it's to make money. So take your power back and make money on a platform. If you're not going to use TipSnaps, use something, but we prefer to use TipSnaps. And again, just in terms of how does this work, when you make $10, you get $9. You get 90% payout.
I
We
like
keep
that split.
10%. Yes, yeah, we never said that. That's very important. We keep 10% only for this reason. Number one, Visa, MasterCard, they tax us all. They take 5% from that 10. The
Wow.
remaining
Okay.
5%, that's just how it works. It sucks, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
Until we move to crypto, that's the reality. The remaining 5%, that's what we operate on. And that's not, so you make $10, you make $100, you get $90. And we ultimately are working with $5 to keep the lights on, to do the hosting, to do all the software engineering, to keep the platform going. There's a ton that goes into this. So
Hmm.
all I'm saying is, if you make content, if you're a creator, 100%, please start directly monetizing. Meaning, you got a 10-minute YouTube video, cut that bad boy to 2 minutes for YouTube. The full 10-minute goes behind TipSnaps. You got to tease people to go subscribe,
I
right?
see a
That you're
lot of
not going to
people
lose
doing it.
fans.
Yep.
You see them doing it. So that's number one for us. And number two, if we could start to be that kind of change in the tech ecosystem to kind of represent for founders of color, so that we could go hire the 22-year-old versions of Vic and myself instead of Vic having to go figure it out and go apply to Sears after he has a PhD, right? Like that's just
Yep.
not that's access. That's just access. And again, we're not talking down on Sears or any. I worked at Sears too. I worked at Walmart. I pushed carts. We're just saying, if you go and get a PhD, why did you get a PhD? Not to go sell
You
clothing
didn't
at
have to get a
Sears.
PhD to, to work at Walmart or Sears. He like,
Exactly. So it's
yeah,
access,
if you
and
want,
it's a
yeah,
travesty that he didn't have the access right out of college. It's
yeah,
travesty. It's not right.
yeah, yeah, man. I'm man. Like I said, I don't want to keep you guys all day, but I'm just so thankful that
We could
I
talk
have
to
the
this about
access.
all day. So
Yeah,
we're
we
sorry for
could
keeping
really,
you all
because I
day.
have,
It's our fault.
yeah, man. No, it's cool because I could go deeper, with the tip snap stuff, especially from the side of it behind the curtain, because I know, just trying to create something, trying to create some just some stability and some consistency, it's difficult, especially when there's some outside stuff happening out of your control. You seeing this happen in front of your face. So yeah, I mean, I could, yeah, we could sit here for another hour, man. But guys, like, I'm very thankful that I get to have this conversation with you, because not only is it informative, and not only have you guys taken a risk on yourselves, but it's also access for me. So I get to have access to create a two founders of a company that has 500,000 uh subscribers. I get to talk to you guys and hear your story, and just kind of share some little anecdotes, man. I'm thankful that you guys have taken out some time, and you coming on the platform, man. So thank you.
Oh man, thank you for having us, man. We enjoyed the conversation, and we don't need the podcast for us to stay in touch and keep connected, man. We definitely going to follow, because this is amazing work that you're doing. You asked some great questions, and we wish you much success, man.
Yes.
No doubt, no doubt, no doubt. So guys, listen, usually when I end the show, I like to drop a little jewel for the people. So, ladies and gentlemen, we just sat down with Big Bodie and Lionel Duge. Did I say it right?
Perfect.
Yes. All right. Cool. So we just sat down with the founders of TipSnaps. To all of my content creators, I mean, listen, we just provided you the bag right here. This is how you get paid. Sign up with TipSnaps for all of my creators out there, all of my future creators. TipSnaps is the way to go. Ladies and gentlemen, you know how we do when we get up out of here. When we end the episode, you know how we do. I have to drop that jewel. Ladies and gentlemen, it costs nothing to be good to someone, so be good to someone today. I'm Rob Fields, there with TipSnaps, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.
Thank you.